Coming to you live from deep within a radioactive wasteland, we are the survivors of the alt-right keck-apocalypse, the few, the brave, the bitchy, once more wading into battle against the froggy lobster zombie hordes with Fundzerker 168, Libertarian Feminist. Oh boy, how we're in for it. Libertarian
Feminist. There's an oxymoron if I ever heard one.
Oh, okay. Let's allow it. Let's just
we'll roll with it. We'll just roll with it.
We'll roll with it. We'll just hold our tongues.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a video? Because I'm not seeing.
There is. I'm going to share it.
Yeah, there's a video. There's
I'm going to share it with you guys.
Let me finish the title. Let me finish the title, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Libertarian Feminist is here to save men from the men.
Save men from the men's rights activists.
I recently had an encounter on Twitter. I know, shock.
So I've noticed.
With a feminist, and I pointed out that in response to her saying that maternal there's maternal mortality, which is why for some reason step women deserve child support, and I pointed out that. Look, just roll with it. It's the logic. I pointed out that there is a non-zero risk of men dying on the job to pay child support.
Yeah.
Okay, so you compare the amount of maternal deaths per 100,000
women, yeah,
and you compare the workplace deaths per year. Mm-hmm. And every year a man works 18 to 21 years, he runs a risk of dying on the job. And over 18 to 21, that risk is somewhere between 60 to 70 men will die on the job versus 23 women will die in pregnancy. And I pointed that out, and she said, but who's responsible for those deaths on the job? It's the men in charge. They're not following OSHA. They're not following workplace safety.
And the stupid women who get pregnant, right? Basically, when they didn't intend to, right? They weren't following the OSHA birth control protocols.
Like, look at it this way. Okay, so a man is responsible. A dead man, a man who is dead, bleeded out on a factory floor, is more responsible for having died in a workplace accident in this woman's mind than a woman is for getting herself pregnant.
Yeah.
Like, and I pointed that out. I'm like, so the man who's dead on the floor in the factory, he's responsible somehow. Mm-hmm. And then she just mushed. She went to mush. She just blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah. You are so full of shit. He is not responsible.
No, some men are responsible for stuff like that, right? Like, if they ignore safety protocols, then yes, they're responsible for their own misfortune. But if women are careless about their birth control, then they're responsible.
Or eat to obesity, or smoke or drink during pregnancy. I mean, mortality in pregnancy is incredibly high in the U.S. It's unusually high for a first world nation, and it's because of obesity.
Yeah, it's fairly well understood, yeah.
Yeah. So some of the stuff that women go through is their own choice.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things. There's a few things like you remember back in the day when, like back in the 1980s, when if you wanted to get married, they made you take a blood test. They made both partners take a blood test. You don't remember that?
Vaguely. I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, it was to test for certain genetic factors that if the parents are genetically incompatible in a certain way,
RH factor.
Yeah, it causes the mother's body to have it causes an immune reaction to the fetus which then can cause an autoimmune reaction that endangers the life of the mother. Something like that, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that would not be a woman's fault. Just like if the workplace is just unsafe because it's unsafe, or something completely unforeseen happens, right? Like there's
and even some presumably incidences where supposedly the workman is at fault. Often they're dealing with pressures.
Oh yeah,
they're
no,
not getting the right amount of sleep.
cell phone towers kill a lot of men, and it's because they were, or it became actually the number one deadliest job was constructing cell phone towers for a brief period of time until the standards caught up. Well, not just the standards caught up, but the actual number of cell phone towers was sufficient to meet demand. And they weren't building at such an incredible pace.
Well, let me put it this way. The number of times that the workman is responsible is very small. And this wasn't her argument. Her argument was that because the bosses
I just
were the ones responsible, because it was men who were responsible, the men who were dying obviously were responsible for their own deaths. And I'm like looking at this, and I'm like, okay, I would invite you to tell that to, some Teamsters or some union guys.
Oh, yeah.
No, dissolve the union. You shouldn't have any unions because because your boss is a man, you are all responsible for your working conditions.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it's men are actually their own union. That's what patriarchy is. But they're like a guild per se, where women are excluded. And then on top of that, what does maternal deaths have to do with child support? Because no dead woman's collecting child support.
Because women take a risk in pregnancy to give birth. No. This is the logic. I gotta tell you.
And a woman takes a risk when she gets into her car to drive, so she should be able to collect car payments from somebody.
Okay, yeah. Look, okay. All right, so the argument is that women should have the choice to have a child because they run a risk, a non-finite risk through pregnancy. And my argument was, men run a non-finite risk through paying child support. Does that not also mean they should have the choice of whether or not to assume the responsibilities? No!
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh God, that was the argument, and then in order to pursue her line of thinking, she had to argue that since the bosses are men and the bosses create the working conditions, obviously the dead male workers, are responsible for their own deaths. Herpaderp.
Yeah,
I know.
That's the Joe Rogan. That's the Joe Rogan argument. On
prison rape?
Yeah, on prison rape. Because the men being raped in prison are being raped by other men, then I guess that just cancels it out, and it's okay, and it's men's fault.
Well, he didn't say that. He just said it's not a good look. It's not going to convince me that, because if you basically say that men are the primary or the majority of victims of rape, but the people raping them are other men, it's not really making men look great.
Well, first of all,
nobody's trying to make men look great.
I don't agree with him, but I mean, like, I don't agree with him being kind of like, okay, so let's not even talk about that, right? Or that it's not a men's rights issue simply because the people who are responsible for the issue are men. I don't agree with that, but I do agree with, the fact that it's very difficult to make, but it's difficult to make any men's rights issue, right?
Yeah.
The male victims of any men's rights issue look good because it's always going to be framed as a product of patriarchy.
Well, until we challenge that lie, or that lie kills our society.
Ergo, victim perpetrator equivalence, right?
Yeah, well,
men are the victims of themselves.
Think about it. Patriarchy, let me see if I can get this analogy correct so people understand what I'm talking about. So most societies seem to be very much invested in making sure that women are protected and provided for obvious evolutionary reasons. That is a successful society.
Yes.
Society in which women are provided for and protected for is going to outcompete any other society, period. So most societies sort of arrange themselves around this principle. In our society, the group of people who is directing the motive of society, so directing where the excess resources should go, that would be feminist women. They're the ones with the hands on the reins. Right now. They have an ideology that completely denies and ignores the actual costs of the things that they are demanding.
Well, and not just denies the costs of the things that they're demanding, but denies that those demands exist in the first place.
Yeah.
And that they have the power to make those demands.
Yeah, they somehow get what they want, but they just don't have the power to make demands in this horrible patriarchy constructed for the benefit of men at the expense of women. But what I'm getting at is you have people who are absolutely 100% delusional about the costs, and they are the ones behind the wheel of society. And they have no idea the costs of what it is they're asking for. So they just keep demanding more and more and more until there's nothing left to give.
No, you can always just keep borrowing, right? And you only have to service your debt. You don't have to pay it down.
Okay, and this is like terrifying to watch. And they live in a complete delusion, because the argument that I was making was that if you are going to demand that men pay child support without any choice, without any ability to separate consent to sex from consent to parenthood, even if they don't consent to sex, they still consent to parenthood, then you are going to end up with raped men paying child support to their rapists. And this individual went back and forth. And then she said, well, you're okay with men abandoning their children? And I said, I have not made any solution to this. I am merely pointing out the cost of it.
This is descriptive, not prescriptive.
This is descriptive. If you give women the right to unilaterally decide that men are going to pay for children, then you are going to end up with raped men paying for children. And it's not a small number, friends. You look at the intimate partner and sexual violence, the National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey. Something like 1.2 men are made to penetrate or raped by someone's by envelopment in a year. 80% by women. That's 1 million men, with a 5% chance that any instance of unprotected sex is going to result in babies. That's 50,000. I mean, that's the upper end.
Yeah, but, and the reproductive coercion thing, where it's like you are trying to get pregnant or make your partner pregnant against their wishes. That's much more common. They found, right, that female perpetration of reproductive coercion was
because everybody has a joke.
Higher.
Uncle Ed, whose Aunt Fanny just slipped him a roofie and fucked him, and suddenly they're married.
Yeah, and
everybody has that joke in their family.
And also just the fact that you can go off the pill and not tell your partner, or get your IUD removed. And
this is one thing that I wish women would learn. This is a hard and fast rule. If you betray your partner, like just, oops, I forgot the pill for 5 months. If you betray your partner like that, you will never get that trust back, ever. So don't do it.
Yeah, and he may decide to stay with you because it's cheaper to keep her at a certain point, right?
Yeah,
if you got one consensual child and 4 children that she had when you didn't want her to, because she intentionally got pregnant without, your consent. Yeah, because she could just go off the pill, and then she could say, "Oh, it was just antibiotics. I was taking antibiotics."
I've seen this happen.
Oh yeah, no,
and it's a disaster.
My friend's sister did this. She and her husband had 1 baby, and then she wanted another baby, and he said, "No, I don't have the money for that. We're like barely making it as it is." And then she just quietly went off the pill, and then she was like, "Oops, it must have been the antibiotics that I was taking for my bladder infection." Right? They've actually shown now, right, that antibiotics don't generally interfere with the function of birth control, right? But it took him, it was child 3 before he began to suspect. And then he said, I'm going to go have a vasectomy. And she said if he did, she'd divorce him. Right? And by then,
basically at that point, you don't have a relationship.
Well, but then he's 3 kids in, right? And she's never worked a day in their marriage. So he's going to be alimony, child support out the wazoo. And he's just like, "Oh, fuck, I'm fucked," right? And then he goes to the doctor to see, like, can I do this? And they're like, "No, you need your wife's consent to get a vasectomy," right? Which is actually technically illegal, but it's common practice among physicians.
Okay, well, here's my story. And I'm not going to give any specifics, but I know a woman who, the first child was supposedly an accident. The second child, she just unilaterally decided. And the man that she married explicitly said, "I don't want children."
It was my hop.
Okay.
All of it was my hop. Make it happen on purpose.
Yeah, all of it. But she absolutely...
We should name these pregnancies Jan 6 pregnancies.
Okay, but this is what happened. She completely destroyed her relationship with this man. And he ended up cheating on her.
Yeah.
And at that point, what do you expect?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, if you are betraying the trust of your partner to that level, you can honestly, like, if you're a woman doing this, you have utterly betrayed your partner. At that point, you don't have a relationship. So they're not cheating at all. Okay? And honestly, if the guy is like, "You know what, I'm going to fuck another woman, at least she'll be on birth control, or I can control so I don't continue to have sex with the rapist," because honestly, I think at that point you can really qualify. If you are literally baiting someone into having sex that they wouldn't have if they knew that you wanted it to be reproductive, I think you're probably that's
that's basically stealthing.
Yes, and it's ugly both ways. I mean, even if I believe that men do it or that's stupid. Like, you gotta be a total fucking moron to do that if you're a man. But whatever.
There have been men that have done that. There was a guy in Nova Scotia who poked holes in the condoms. His relationship was getting rocky. And he was worried that they were going to break up. And he thought, well, if we have a baby, we'll have to stay together. So he poked holes in the condoms. And she got pregnant. She went and she had an abortion. Broke up with him anyway. And then she started dating some other guy, and he heard about it, and he contacted her and said, "Don't use the condoms in the nightstand." Yeah, so he was actually being nice.
An idiot.
Yeah, I know, an idiot, but he was like, "I don't want her to use the condoms in the nightstand because I poked holes in all of it." Yeah, and that's the only reason she knew that it was intentional, that it wasn't an accident. And then he was convicted of first degree sexual assault.
All right, so ladies, you're a sexual assaulter. And if a man goes and has sex with another woman who isn't a rapist, it's on you, not him.
Yep.
Okay? Period. And the thing is that what ended up happening subsequently is her life just got worse and worse and worse, and she attracted more assholes just like herself. and more like the original guy, not my favorite person in the world. But the next ones were even worse.
Oh, sure, I'm
honestly,
sure,
but she set the tone.
yeah,
And
no,
that's what women don't realize. You are setting the tone. You are deeply betraying somebody by doing this.
yes.
Anyway.
Oh no, and this guy, okay, this guy was convicted of aggravated sexual assault because the aggravation was the physical injury of having to get an abortion. Right? So you had just not just the non-consensual sex, right? No informed consent, but you also had the aggravating factor of the injury of having to get pregnancy and getting an abortion. But the judge, in his ruling, went out of his way doing all kinds of weird pretzelizing of logic and the law, right, to explain how this could not possibly apply to women who trick their partners, their male partners, into impregnating them, because men don't risk injury, right? They don't risk the injury of pregnancy. And in this one case, this one situation, financial injury does not count as injury. Okay, and so basically, he wrote his judgment in order that men could not bring similar charges against women who intentionally get pregnant against their consent through trickery. So women in Canada can poke holes in condoms all they want.
So can we start the video now, or it's been like a
let's
half an
start
hour?
The video. But you know, Libertarian Feminist is going to tell us how all men's issues are,
Yeah.
presumably. Maybe she'll throw us a curveball. Okay.
I watched about as much of it as I could stand without throwing something at the wall.
This is a 20-minute video. So.
We're not going to do the whole thing,
30,
obviously.
30 freaking minutes. 30 freaking minutes.
30 minutes of this. 30
yeah,
minutes,
it's going to take
an
a while
hour
to chew through this. Okay.
Before
we get into it.
Well, before we
get
do,
into it.
don't you have to say the things
Yes, that's what I was
for
about
people
to
so they
do.
can support us?
Yes. All right. First of all, if you want to send us a message, please do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. We get the full benefit of the funds, and you get the benefit of avoiding YouTube staff, whatever they're doing, or the algorithm.
The chunk that they take away from us.
The chunk you take away from enriching YouTube,
the bad people. So,
and also not just enriching YouTube, but also running afoul of their incredibly persnickety algorithms in terms of your comments, because they flag the weirdest words. But anyway, that's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Please put through something for us through there. I really like that method, because I actually did the back room, is that the right way to work, to make it so that it all works and pops out in the Discord. But anyway, so that's feedthebadger.com/.
You put in the legwork. You were the architect of the.
I was the
interface.
architect.
You created the GUI.
Yeah, maybe not really the GUI, but the back stuff that made the thing. But anyway, so please do that. Feedthebadger.com/justthetip, and also, if you would, please support us at feedthebadger.com/support. Because you guys help us out every month, we're able to continue to do this work. I think at this point we are we may be the last bastion of, maybe don't blame men for everything. I mean, we've done that for 70 years. It seems to have gotten us in a progressively worse situation. Maybe at some point we got to stop and say, hey, what about women taking responsibility? Yeah. But of course, patriarchy theory or patriarchy conjecture denies the possibility that women have any responsibility over society whatsoever. Like, that's essentially what it does. It's just women have no responsibility. They have no power and no responsibility. And where's that got us? Here. Mm-hmm. And nothing good seems to be happening from that. From saying that women have absolutely no responsibility over society. I mean, a lot of very functional societies came out of saying, well, actually, maybe women do have some responsibility over society, and they should use that responsibility wisely. You know, that seems to have worked well in the past, but apparently now we can't do that at all.
Well,
anyway,
just to give everybody like an inkling of what we're talking about. Apparently, right now, every child born in the U.S. today will inherit more than $95,000 in federal debt.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what federal debt is.
Yeah, you start your life today
In debt.
owing $95,000.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is, none of them have had any say in the spending of that. I guess that's sort of the thing. Like, we've accepted this idea that people can be responsible for debt that they never had a hand in creating.
Yeah.
But that's like, there's no sense of the future anymore. And honestly, why the idea of a future comes from the idea that what you have now, you can work and use your own actions and the consequences of those actions to improve the future for yourself. That is a masculine way of thinking. And it's all, we can't have that anymore.
No,
all masculine virtues are bad.
Well, that's just some kind of bullshit. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Why do we have to pay for things? Why does stuff cost money?
Why do squirrels
why don't we just
have to collect nuts to survive the winter?
Why don't we just print more money?
Yeah, we can just print more.
Debt is borrowing on future labor. At some point, unless you're going to default on the debt, and you're never going to be like, can you imagine our society defaulting on the debt?
Like going bankrupt.
Yeah. Do you realize at that point, everything the West would be able to consume is only what it can produce. That's it.
And also, you have to sell off every asset that is not 100% necessary to you, right? Like if you go into personal bankruptcy, you're only allowed to own a car that's worth like $4,000. You're allowed to own a house if there's no equity in it. You're allowed to continue to own that house, but if there's equity in it, you have to sell it and start renting again, right?
Holy shit!
And it's not like you don't have to pay any of your debt. It's just that you negotiate with your creditors as to how much they'll get and how you get to live for the next 7 to 10 years. Without any credit whatsoever, unless you prove yourself responsible.
All right.
It's not where you want your country to be.
No.
And anyway, so we're about the responsibility. We're about women being expected to take responsibility because a lot of that debt is coming from the class of people that doesn't pay net taxes. Okay? And that's not men. All right, so feedthebadger.com/support to make sure that we can continue to say our message, our very, very unpopular message that men are not to blame and women need to take some responsibility. Because God forbid women be recognized as moral agents. And incidentally, feminists have no fucking clue what that means. That does not mean that you have infinite power. It means that there are consequences to your actions that are generally recognized. Because you can have infinite power, but if you're in a void affecting absolutely nothing, you don't have agency. It's the effects of your actions that give you a sense of agency.
Yeah.
All right.
A sense of power.
All right.
A sense of power.
So.
All right. Feedthebadger.com/support. Let's do it.
All right. So before I start the video, I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about the video. So this is entitled A Feminist's Take on the Men's Rights Movement by Hannah Cox. And Hannah Cox, I don't know much about her except that she claims to be a libertarian feminist. Now, in my mind, there's no such thing. That is not even a unicorn. That just doesn't exist. But I decided to look in the comments. And I say this as somebody, by the way, who is libertarian-minded. So, like, it's not like I don't know what I'm talking about. And I think anybody who understands libertarianism wouldn't understand that that shouldn't make sense. But she's making it make sense. And I think that libertarians better fucking pay attention. So I looked through the comments to see if anybody I knew was in here. And there are some people that are saying, you know what, men's rights are human rights. These are very, like, straightforward things. But there was one thing that I saw that was kind of interesting, or a couple things. X-Man, you guys know X-Man. He comes to the conferences that we have sometimes, and he's pretty active. He works with NCFM and stuff, and he's commented on it. And of course, he got shit from the comments. Then there was what? What was that?
I just said yeah.
Yeah, and then someone else, this one probably will, here we go. Somebody named Carlos Fundzerker said, are you able to have that conversation with Hannah Wallen? And he then follows up and says, if you want, you can find the article written in response to this video by Hannah Wallen on the website. And he says, a voice for men. And then Hannah Cox replies and says, no clue who that is or why I would need to. I have a full summary of my thoughts on the issues here. So I'm just letting you know, she was made aware of Hannah. She didn't even look at it. She says she doesn't know who she is. But she speaks on the subject like she knows. Hannah. What?
Oh, she turned her nose up at Hannah.
Yeah.
Like, you, lady, you could be utterly schooled to the point of being atomized by Hannah, I'm guessing. I mean, I could be completely wrong.
No, I think so. I think so.
Hannah's pretty... She's got two qualities in abundance. Persistence and autism.
Yeah.
And then she's got a wealth of actual knowledge and experience. So.
Okay, but I'm just going to say it's really easy to sell this idea that men are responsible and women have absolutely nothing to take responsibility for. It is really easy to sell that concept because it just slots so nicely into our instincts.
Yeah, no, it's like
does.
You wrote the article Inflatable Femme ages ago.
Years ago.
Yeah, and then I kind of picked up on that, right? And kind of provided an evolutionary evolutionary psychology explanation of it with the tyranny of female hypoagency. Right? I mean, like this is not new stuff.
No, I've been working on this for like 20 years. And what inflatable femme means is that there is this tendency to regard women as having no actual presence in terms of the consequences of their actions and just append those actions to men. And
or
it fits right into
the environment or some kind of outside something.
So right? we have this real difficulty.
They're never acting. They're always reacting.
Yeah, they're never acting, they're always reacting. We have this difficulty situating the consequences of women's actions with their choices. We have this real blind spot. And the reason why we have that real blind spot is because we have these instincts to provide and protect for women. So we can't, like, if a woman does something stupid, we can't say, okay, well, you're living out the consequences of your choices. You're living out the consequences. We have this impulse to go in and save her from herself constantly.
Yep.
And that's like it.
And then the excuses begin. Oh, well, she had a bad childhood. Oh, she had some
as if
trauma. I know. But we make excuses. Oh, well, she really. She was just a product of her environment. And
I just recently read an article on women abandoning babies, women drowning their babies in toilets, women suffocating their babies and throwing them in trash cans. And this article managed to completely avoid any sense that these women are responsible for murdering their children.
Yep.
Like, completely avoid it.
Just a clump of cells, Alison.
Well, yeah, but these are living babies at this point. They were alive before they
Potato.
But it's like, I'm like reading this, I'm like, no. Maybe we need some condemnation here. Maybe a woman needs to realize that she's going to be put on an ice floe if she strangles her child and shoves it in a trash can.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye! Goodbye! You know, like,
so long.
So long, we don't want to see you again. Like, maybe women need to know this. And they need to know things like, if you fucking have a child against the will of your partner, you are raping him. You know, maybe women need to know this stuff. So that those women who might otherwise say, you know what, maybe strangling my baby and shoving him in a trash compactor is a bad thing, will think twice before doing it.
Yeah.
And those ones who continue to do it can be put on an ice floe because we don't want them reproducing.
Yeah.
God damn. Like, and this is really hard for people to understand. Like, this is something that just bounces off of people's skulls. That maybe women shouldn't be allowed to do stuff like this.
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay,
all right,
let's keep going.
So let's start the video 45 minutes later.
Let's start going.
Yeah, let's start
going.
the video. So just a heads up, guys. I have sped up the video a little bit to protect us from, like, whatever, copyright bullshit. And I have captions turned on so you guys can read it in case, you know, we're talking over her or something like that. And I've also color corrected it so it's going to look a little bit more purple. All right, so let's get started. Let's hear what Hannah Cox has to say.
In our defense, the phrase libertarian feminist is very innately repulsive.
It's mind-breaking. It is so wrong. It can't even be considered stupid.
Oxymoronic.
It's absolutely like. Anyway, we'll get started. Let's at least watch the first 30 seconds. She has the nerve to call this show based, by the way. The fucking nerve!
Hey guys, welcome back to Based. This month, we're going to talk about the men's rights movement, and specifically, the potential bias against men in our legal system. As you probably know, the libertarian movement is pretty male-heavy. That's starting to change in recent years, but it tracks that a large percentage of my audience is also made up of men. And one thing those men have frequently asked me to touch on is the men's rights movement.
All right, I'm just pausing it there because that's about 30 seconds in.
Why would you ask this?
So, here, just look, okay, wait. First red flag. The libertarian movement, she's calling it a movement, I'll just say population, is mostly male. And she thinks that's a problem to her, all right? She doesn't say it, but she thinks it's a problem. Do you know why? Do you know why libertarianism is mostly male?
Yes, because women are dependent, and they evolved to be dependent, and therefore they evolved to have someone providing for them. And so complete free-for-all in society in terms of you protect yourself and you provide for yourself is not feasible for women, and that is understandable because women are more vulnerable, and they have the babies. So, and that means that they need that, and that's perfectly okay to accept as like a condition of womanhood. But libertarian women should be focused on making their men as free as possible.
Okay. In this case, one of the problems is that feminism posits that a society, that society itself needs to be fundamentally changed to benefit women.
Uh-huh.
And
why?
That is incompatible. That is incompatible with well, obviously the reason why it exists is feminism is exploiting the very instinct that it says it denies exists.
Yeah,
okay?
No, like society has always been organized around two principal concepts. women need to be provided for and protected, and men are the people whose job it is to do that.
Yeah. But regardless, I mean, it's antithetical to libertarianism because right there, it's a form of force.
Yep.
It's a moral force, and it's a moral force compelling men's action. So it's incompatible to simultaneously buy into a moral force that compels the state, or that essentially is about compelling the state to compel men to do things, and libertarianism. I mean, I may not be a libertarian, but I understand that.
Yeah. Yep. No, I agree.
But I just want to point one thing out. All right, before we continue, look at the expression on her face when she says the men's rights movement.
Oh yeah.
You holding back a bit of vomit there, lady?
Yeah.
It looks like you're going to be really, really fair to the men's rights movement.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
either disgust or just she looks like she's about to burst out laughing. Oh, men rights? What? Jesus.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Or it's just a really bad still, and she's like holding in a fart.
I just want to say one last thing is that I think that you could have a libertarian woman if she has a contract with her man, that states that, like, she will do her part, he will do his part. Like, I don't see any reason why libertarians couldn't get married and share in their earnings.
Well, of course not. Of course
yeah,
not.
of course.
It's like when I was in Woodstock, New
Marriage
York,
contract.
staying with those guys at this old, like, 1850s farmhouse, right?
Yeah.
And for the Libertarian conference back in New York in 2012, I think it was. But they were all libertarians, but they had agreed, is like basically a boarding house with 6 men in it,
Mm-hmm.
and me. And they had agreed that they were going to basically live commune style. Right?
Okay.
That this was the contract was,
Yeah.
everybody pays what they can, and like, if you can't pay this month but everybody tries, and it's like, if you're in a community of 6 people, it's really easy to spot cheaters and free riders and kick them out. Right? It's very easy to detect those people
Mm-hmm.
and put them on an ice floe.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But so it was the arrangement that they liked, that they had all consensually agreed to, and come to that decision mutually, right? So they were like, no, that's totally compatible with the libertarian mindset. It's a contract. We all entered into it freely, and if you violate the contract, out you go.
Yeah. All right, let's continue.
Right?
30 seconds.
Okay.
But frankly, I've recoiled from doing it for many years, and for good reason, because there are elements of this movement that are frankly gross, misogynistic, and violent. But I've recently taken...
God, what
Yeah.
a surprise!
I know, what a
damn
shocker.
surprise! Like, I guess I'm prescient. I saw what was about to come out of her mouth just from her expression. I haven't watched this before. I haven't watched this before.
It's prescient.
Prescient.
It is.
But anyway, what is I'm an oracle.
Yes.
Mhm.
No, you are all knowing.
Oh no, I could just see that. I could just see that about to come out of her mouth. What
we
fucking
all-
right does she have?
We all
Like,
saw
she's
it
judging
coming.
us. She's judging us.
Yeah, no. Like, what about the
And
suffragette
of course, she
bombers?
turns
bitch?
her nose up against Hannah. Oh,
Mhm.
well, I don't have to talk to her. Not
Yeah.
a person who's been involved in this movement. A woman who's been involved in this movement for how many years? 15 years now?
Yeah.
You know,
The
you don't
worst
have to, do you?
No, because
most
she was on Reddit and saw an Andrew Tate video, so she has it all figured out. All figured out.
no.
I know exactly what's going on, and I need to be in charge of it, not you guys.
How long have I been in this? And the worst thing, the most violent thing that I've ever been accused of was when Sachi Cool sat me down and demanded to you know, whether I still thought she was a cunt, because apparently I called her a cunt like
I remember
6
that.
times.
Accurately. Or else, well, the most violent thing I've ever been accused of is being a terrorist, so
Yeah.
maybe she's got me there.
Yeah. All right, let's
Well,
keep going.
I don't think I am, but
Yeah, no, well, I mean, you
Well,
haven't
you don't get to
committed
decide
any
that,
acts.
Alison. They do.
You haven't committed any acts of violence, neither have I.
no,
I mean, like,
I haven't committed any acts of violence, but apparently just simply saying we have to care about men when they're victims of things is an act of violence to feminists of a certain stripe.
there you go.
The depends on how you define violence. These days, it's words or it's not words. It's also silence. So.
But if it's the right people, even shooting someone to death.
Oh yeah, no,
isn't
actual violence is fine depending on who's doing it.
Actual violence is speech, as long as you are ideologically correct.
Yes, exactly.
There you go.
And you're killing a baby.
Now
right.
you're cooking with gas.
Yeah,
Oops.
now we're getting it. We're getting it. All right, let's keep going.
They're going to take away your stove, Alison.
Oh, actually, before we... Oh, no, well, I was going to just do some shout-outs, but since...
No, go ahead. I'll get my thank yous ready.
Yeah, get your feedback stuff ready.
Never go for retard.
All right. Okay, so I want to thank Michael D for $25 or $50. Thank you, Michael D.
Thank you, Michael D.
Nice.
And Health Potion Addict, who's always good for like last month, I think he put in like $1,000. So thank you, Health Potion Addict. He's put in $100. Thank you. And I just want to say, like, please, if you are able to, just take a moment to go to feedthebadger.com/support. I know sometimes it's just tearing yourself away from our wonderful commentary. Once again, that's feedthebadger.com/support. I know this is sort of a depressing thing to look at, but the truth, like, that's why nobody wants to look at it. Nobody wants to look at it because it makes you feel helpless. Like, makes you feel like, what can you do? But the truth is the only thing that's going to save us. Like, looking at the truth and being honest to ourselves about what is going on.
Yeah.
Because it's not working anymore. Look at everything that's happening around us. Look at all of the institutions that are failing us.
Yeah.
It's not working anymore. The only thing that will work is being honest. And the first thing we need to be honest about is the very instincts that make a society function, which is the relationship between men and women and how we structure it. We gotta be honest with ourselves. And nobody wants to be because it's uncomfortable. Women don't want to face the fact of how much they do need men materially. And men don't want to face how much they need women psychologically.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We are vulnerable to each other and nobody wants to face that because it's hard. But if we don't face it, we're not going to have a future.
Well, you live a lie long enough and everything just starts to fall apart, right?
And that's what we're seeing right now. And even if living this lie has been what's brought us to this point, even more importantly, men and women being honest with each other is what's going to get us out of this problem.
Yeah.
There's no other way. And this is where we talk about that, and we're honest about that. And we're honest about holding women to account, and we're honest about looking at the places where men do not have the power to change things, where women need to step up.
Yep.
And we don't shy away from that. And I personally don't think that that's going to cause women to spontaneously combust into a million fragments of starlight if they're just said, okay, well, these are the powers that you have as women. Men are psychologically vulnerable to women. As the more I see, the more that this becomes apparent to me. Mm-hmm. Men's identities are fundamentally rooted in whether or not they are doing something to provide and protect for those people who are more vulnerable in society. And that's a good thing. That's something that's very admirable about men. And I don't think it's going to change.
Pro-social.
Very pro-social. Men believe and feel that they exist in order to protect and provide for others. Very pro-social. It may be vulnerable men, it may be vulnerable women. Women tend to be seen as more vulnerable than men in general.
Oh, and children especially.
And children. You know, and I'm saying that as an is. And also, I'm saying that because if we don't recognize this truth, the men end up being more and more exploited for it.
And then,
not recognized.
And then eventually they just refuse to be exploited anymore, and they become totally alienated.
They just go. Eventually, this is what I'm seeing. Even among the men who are aware that this is a form of exploitation, it's less that they end up being, they overtly quit or strike, and more that they just descend into, and I don't even want to say apathy, but depression.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't understand how to make their actions good. You know, they're given no framework.
If every action can be interpreted as bad, so if you hold the door, you're bad. If you don't hold the door, you're bad, right? If you try to help somebody, you're bad. If you don't try to help somebody, you're bad.
Yeah.
It's.
Let me use an anecdote. Like I'm learning a lot from my dog Scipio, and I can be like a real taskmaster with him. And what I've noticed is that he will shut down, or he will engage in things that he thinks are good, if he does not know if he's doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he needs to know. He needs that feedback. Or he's no longer capable of continuing. He's no longer capable of understanding what the right thing to do is in the circumstance is.
Yes, and everybody's like that.
Everybody's
right?
like that,
including women. But women, all the feedback that they get is like,
they get is positive.
It's either positive or neutral, or sympathetic.
Yeah, but he does not. He needs to know. And dogs actually have sort of very, like, they, in a lot of ways, they have a similar emotional makeup to us. They want to please, and they just need to know if they're doing the right thing. Men need to know if they're doing the right thing, or they emotionally shut down. Yeah. And why wouldn't that be the case? The only people who don't emotionally shut down when they think they're doing the wrong thing are sociopaths. Yep. Is that what we want to be selecting for? So
yes.
It's like women need to recognize how much of a psychological effect they have on men. I mean, dogs are slightly gynocentric, as far as I can tell. Male dogs prefer women, and they listen to women more.
But female dogs prefer men.
Really? Okay. Well, maybe it's that way then. I thought they didn't prefer either. But regardless,
they're a little less choosy, but yeah, female dogs. Put it this way.
If the human race is gynocentric, which means that women are the ones that we want to protect and provide for, and I think that that's almost inescapable conclusion at this point. Does it not behoove women to recognize men's vulnerabilities to them? Well, understand that.
Yeah. Well,
and try to make. That would be what?
That would be actually acknowledging that they have power, and most of their power derives from the illusion that they don't have any.
Really? Does most of the power derive from that illusion, or does most of it derive from the instinct in the first place? I mean, a lot of I think what you might consider the unfair power derives from the illusion that men don't care. But then again, the other thing is, and this is something that I've gotten into arguments with feminists as well. When I assert this stuff, there's one particular feminist who always comes at me, don't you think that's insulting to men? I'm like, but it's true. Like, does it matter if it's insulting if it's true? Like, are we just going to flatter ourselves to death?
Yeah.
Well,
no,
yeah,
it's like,
that's what we're doing.
Yeah, we're flattering ourselves to death.
You can't say that Lizzo isn't the pinnacle of female beauty, because she would find that insulting.
All right, so I've gotten a little bit out of bounds, but anyway.
Yeah.
Shall we continue?
The upshot of this is a difficult task that we've set for ourselves. You know, it is
Because
difficult to.
It goes against all of the junk food of instinct,
Yes.
right?
This
Like,
is we are like, no, you can't just will yourself thin. You actually have to exercise. You actually have to restrict your calories. You know, you gotta eat as simply.
you don't eat the kinds of foods that are unhealthy and make you fat and sluggish, right? You don't eat those, even though they taste really good, right?
Yeah.
And it's because you evolved to like those foods based on an environment where they were rare, where they were sparse, not where they were
there was,
like.
for most of our evolutionary history, it would never have been a problem to say, let's protect and provide women.
Yeah.
Not in the slightest, because it was always very difficult.
Or let's eat sugar.
Or let's eat fat.
Yeah. Oh no, fat is good for you.
Yes, fat is good for you.
True.
I double that.
Okay, all right. Let me.
No,
let
it
me
is. It's not even really the sugar. It's the seed oils that are the enemy.
Seed oil.
Yes, seed oils.
Okay. All right. Let me finish my thought.
Okay.
This is a very difficult thing to keep alive, and we have got to this point because you who are listening to us have made sure to give us the resources to keep doing this. You know, a lot of people, I've read comments where people are like, I listened for a while, but then it got depressing. Well, what do you think it feels like to do it every day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a freaking hard slog. And there's no way you can do it with a full-time job to keep this kind of momentum going. So if you don't want to see this stop, you have got to go to feedthebadger.com/support and make sure that we hit our goal for the month. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, me and Brian, we're both not the healthiest people physically. I'm probably healthier, so I don't want to pull away from Brian's sales. But there's no way like either of us could do this plus a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
It is extremely stressful to look at the stuff day by day by day and continue to bring it to people, not just bring it to people, but try to find some hope in the despair. So we really do rely on you to make sure that we are able to keep doing this. And this needs to get done. It doesn't matter what other people say about identifying enemies, about fear-mongering or whatever. This is the thing that we need to fix, or we're fixing nothing. Nothing. Yeah. All right?
All right. Let's do some more of
so
this.
Please go to feedthebadger.com/support and make sure we can continue to do this because we won't be able to without you.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're going to play another 30 seconds.
That are frankly gross, misogynistic, and violent. But I've recently taken the time to dig into the issues, and I've come away thinking that there are two sides to the men's rights movement, one valid, one not valid. And I think the issues under the valid side of this movement deserve our attention. So today,
one of the biggest problems today is this idea that women can stand in judgment of men. And you are standing in judgment of men.
Yeah, no, she's like, okay, here are the valid things and here are the not valid things, and I am the arbiter of what is valid and not valid.
Yes, and of course, if you go into a space where there are men and they're in pain and they're suffering and they've been through a bunch of things, they've been falsely accused of things, they've gone to prison, they've had a horrible divorce, they lost access to their kids, they're paying child support unjustly, whatever it is, even if it's something as mild as some girl rejected them publicly, loudly, and painfully, she doesn't think that they're allowed to go and vent about this.
Yeah,
because if they vent about it and she sees it, then it means that they are the problem. And all of the legitimate stuff, it's all like they don't actually care about that. So that's what I think she's going to say. I watched part of this. I couldn't make it through the whole thing because I was getting so furious. Because I think that feminists like this are far more dangerous than like a Mona Alathawi or some like nut job, red-haired screaming woman that's pissing and shitting in public. Those people don't scare me because you can look at them and see how obviously full of shit they are.
Yeah, and crazy. Yeah.
But like these that are like, oh no, I care about you guys. I'm looking out for you guys. I just think that, it's like that meme where there's like, it was an old Gamergate meme, like invoking the old thing. But there's like this, hipster, like progressive dude, and he's wearing the mask of a normal person. And he's like, I'm all down for like changing this whole political landscape. But don't you think that there's a problem with all these misogynists and racists and Nazis? Shouldn't we do something about those guys first? Yeah. This is exactly that. Like, oh my God, this is so infuriating. So infuriating. All right, anyway.
Why do you make us watch this then?
Yeah, well, because this is good for our show.
Because we have to.
And also, I think people. Well, no, but also I think people need to be aware of this is going on because, I was talking to Vernon, V for Vernon, who's an MRA, and his big thing is he's a libertarian too. He's actually like an objectivist, right? And I told him, I said, look, this woman's calling herself a libertarian, and if you haven't been paying attention, the libertarians are being infiltrated by not just like feminists, basically, but also just general like Nazi or commie leftists too. And they're using libertarianism to get in, and I'm like, you need to call their shit out because they will use this against you. I mean, it's already been happening anyways. This is why the libertarians are fucking losers, because they don't know to call that shit out. And they're just going to keep losing because they want to appeal. And so when women come along and they're like, oh, this place is really nice, but how come there's no women here? And then you're like, well, what do we need to do to make women? Well, we could start by eliminating the misogyny and all of the sexism and stuff,
Yeah, same with the atheists, right? And like when I was sitting next to Amanda Billy Rock, right? And, doing a Q&A session at the New York State Libertarian Party's national convention, right? Or annual convention. So I'm sitting there and somebody asked, how do we get more women into the libertarian movement? And I was just like, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
You shouldn't, and you shouldn't care, because here's the reality. And the reality is most women they're not psychologically compatible with libertarianism. It's just how it is. And because of that, if you know a woman who's divorced and she's collecting child support from her husband, from her ex, it's enforced, right? It's enforced by a court order. It's enforced by the family maintenance enforcement agency in their state or whatever, and she's collecting that because he's being forced to do that, right? Then she's not a libertarian. She's just not.
Of course. No, of course not.
Right? Because she entered into a contract. The contract ended for her. Right? But it didn't end for him. Yep. And so, and there's reasons, and I'm not faulting women for this necessarily. There's just reasons why they're not adapted to the same degree as men are towards freedom. It's just they will always prioritize security and safety and availability of resources over freedom. They always will.
So if a woman wants to be a libertarian, her mentality has to be about holding herself to a standard, not going into a community judging it based on how well it suits her.
Yeah.
That's it. That's one of the essential components of libertarianism. So if you want women in libertarianism, you're not going to get women in libertarianism unless you also hold them to that standard. Okay? That this is about a personal set of ethics. And if you don't adhere to this personal set of ethics, you are not a woman in libertarianism. You are a something other going into libertarianism to turn it into something that benefits you.
Authoritarianism. Yeah. I mean, that's all it is. It's at the end of the day, feminism is authoritarianism. It doesn't work any other way.
It's a justification for authoritarianism.
Yeah, it is, exactly. There is no other version It always comes down to that. Always. There is no other version. You're either going to use the state or you're going to use other men. But it's going to be authoritarian at the end of the day.
My overall point is, if you are a woman going into the libertarianism, and in particular men's rights movement, like libertarianism isn't as explicit about that, which is why libertarians get sucked in, which is why every other group gets sucked in except us. And even some of us get sucked in.
Oh, yeah.
It does not fucking matter how many women you have if those women are destructive.
Yes.
Okay? Because all you're going to end up with is a smoking crater. Do you think that Rome became Rome because it wanted to... It was like, well, we got to appeal to men. No. It constructed an identity around women denying this kind of tribalist violence. Literally saying... No, we don't want this tribalist violence. We don't want to be able to incite this tribalist violence based on our sexuality. We are going to hold ourselves to a standard. And around that, a civilization was born because women held themselves to a standard. No matter what, if we are going to get through this, it's going to be because we have a nucleus of women who hold themselves to a standard. It doesn't fucking matter what other women do, because all they're going to do is destroy whatever they touch. Okay?
Yeah.
So if you
use it up.
Or use it up. If you have a group of women who are providing the nucleus of an effective system, all right, that can protect and provide for the women and the men within it, all right, and are encouraging the men to cooperate together to protect and provide for everyone, and the women are also doing what they can do to protect and provide for the men psychologically. If you have a nucleus like that, basically what you have is a freaking legion in the middle of fucking chaos, because every other woman is tearing down their men, tearing down what they're constructing. Who do you think's gonna win?
Yeah.
Who do you think's gonna win? It doesn't. And the thing is that the women who don't hold themselves to a standard are constructing their own downfall. They are constructing their own. Go ahead.
It's like what Warren Farrell has always said. You know, if one side wins, both sides lose. In terms of the gender war, right? So,
well, I mean, like I said, if you have even a small group of women, even if it's a small group of women, you want the right women, and for obvious reasons.
Yeah, and
because if they aren't the right women, then they're tearing shit apart.
Yeah, no, and you have to acknowledge the fact that, you know, and you have to do it without disappointment or anger. You have to accept that men are what they are and women are what they are, and generally speaking, those things are not going to change. They're just not. So you have to actually construct a system that places limits on both to avoid their own types of excesses. The excesses
ironically,
that they're prone to.
Karen, the excesses that men are prone to is too much protecting and providing.
Well,
and getting into wars over protecting and providing for women.
Well,
let me just lay this out. Okay? Our civilization is a direct result of men questioning that form of protection and provision, which we don't understand now to the degree that they did then, which is this idea that a man should die to protect a woman's chastity. Okay, that's what this whole Say Mine Women was about. One group of men had to die over this fight over these women and their chastity. Okay, and that is what it challenged. And that is if you go into the Middle East, you can still see that kind of tribalist belief around men dying for women's chastity. And that if you do not protect your women's chastity, you are not a man and you're not a tribe. You might as well be facing execution. But that's what Rome challenged. And that's what created the concept of the nation state. Tribes working together to build something. Okay? And it required those women, either mythologically or actually physically, to step away from the expectation that men protect their chastity, which meant they had to step away from that feeling of security. You understand what I'm saying? That
Yes.
feeling like they can compel men to protect them through their chastity. They had to disavow that on a psychological level and then hold themselves to the standard of, I'm not going to be fought over by men. Like Lucretia, the woman who was raped and basically started the Republic, she held herself to that standard. She was raped and then she killed herself because she did not want that strife into the Republic or into the nation. She held herself to that standard that she would not be fought over. And this is that holding yourself to that standard and disavowing the expectation of a particular type of protection. And that nucleus formed our fucking civilization. So don't tell me that this isn't important or possible. Because we exist because of that. We exist at the entire concept of the US exists because women said, do not fight over us. We do not want that protection. We do not want to see you die. We would rather die than to see you guys die for this stupidity.
I'm really
and then
rich.
bam, a fucking nation state is born. The concept of it. The concept of tribes working together on an equal level rather than a hierarchical level to build something together. Okay? This is possible. This is definitely possible. This is something that can happen and has happened, and we benefit from it having happened in history. Even Christianity, the whole idea of Mother Mary sacrificing her son for the benefit of everyone, that is a woman holding herself to a standard. Okay? It happens. And when it happens, it's powerful. And you don't need women who don't hold themselves to a standard. They can fuck off and live in their goddamn wasteland. And eventually be conquered by the society that doesn't do that. Okay. Sorry.
All right.
I don't know
Laura,
what
anyway.
we're yelling about!
All right, let's
This
watch
is
some.
Sparta.
let's watch some more.
Between the two sides of the movement first, and then we're going to get down to business on the issues. So what is the men's rights movement? I'm going to read from one of the large advocacy groups within the sector called the Men's Group, and they define it like this. Activists argue that society has become biased and sexist against men. They also argue that men face discrimination from the media, government, and Supreme Court for being male. Men's rights groups fight against custody laws that favor mothers over fathers, violence against men, false rape allegations, disproportionate male prison sentencing, and conscription. For instance, whenever
All right, I'm just pausing for the banana there. Okay, she's just reading a description. Not much to say to that.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
a female is overlooked over a role in the office, the company is deemed as discriminatory. However, when a male colleague loses a position to a female worker, it is deemed as normal. These are some of the inequalities men's rights groups strive to address. Those are their words. Now, on its face, I'd say there's a lot in that statement we're going to agree about.
All right, so on its face, so she's going to be disagreeing on some of this stuff. So brace your spines.
I consider myself a feminist, and that means I advocate for women's rights on the basis of the equality of the sexes. True.
Okay, so on the basis of equality of sexes, real quick, if you believe in equality, you're not a libertarian. It's impossible. Full stop, period. There's no such thing as equality. Nobody is equal. There's only justice. That's not the same. There is only justice and fairness, but that's not equality. When they use the E word, you have to call them out immediately. Dude, no. Men and women are not equal. And there is no, you know how they come in and they go, well, no, I'm not talking about equality of outcome. I'm talking about equality of opportunity. It's the same. Do you know how I know it's the same? Because whether or not equality of opportunity is successful is measured by the outcome. That means that you can say, well, we started with equality of opportunity, but look, the outcomes are different. So obviously it doesn't work. So we have to do more equality.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Stop. Lies. It doesn't exist. Justice or nothing. That's all there is. Just be fair. Stop it with the equality bullshit. Anyway.
True feminism is the belief that all people should have equal rights, equal opportunity, and equal command of their own destiny. But just like the men's rights movement has two sides to it, one vile and one valid, I'd argue so does the feminist movement. There is a side to the feminist movement that truly does hate men and that sees them as inferior or wants them
Yes,
to
do you know
have
what that side is?
All of
Any
it.
feminist who believes that society was ever constructed for the benefit of men at the expense of women.
Yeah, it's baked into the fucking definition. There's no two
No,
sides.
no. Okay, if you're a feminist who doesn't believe that, you're not vile. Like, and I don't even want to use the word vile.
You're also not a feminist.
Yeah, you're not a feminist then.
Yeah. Okay,
You don't
yeah.
get
if
to
you're a
identify as
feminist who
something and
does
then
not-
change the definition.
You're a feminist who does not, and there is no goddamn way that society is constructed for the benefit of men at the expense of women. This is a fucking, like, this is the most retarded goddamn lie. A society like that would implode and destroy itself instantly.
Yeah.
Like, it just would not work evolutionarily. Societies work because they take resources from men and give them to the people who have children. Period. And yeah, I know there are people who are like, oh my God, gynocentrism. Well, that is an is, not an ought. I wish we lived in a perfect equality where men had no psychological vulnerabilities to women and women had no material vulnerabilities to men. I'm sure it would be lovely. Or maybe we can just care about each other and recognize each other's vulnerabilities and do what we can to ameliorate them on this side instead of wishing that we didn't have them at all. You know, like what is the, like, there's the African saying that they describe hell, and hell is a group of people sitting in a circle, and there's a pot of stew in the middle, and everybody has a spoon that's long enough to get food from the pot, but so long that they can't actually it's too long to get into their mouths. So they just keep pulling out stew from the pot and dropping it, trying to get it to their mouths because they just can't, the spoon just won't, it's too big, too long.
Mm-hmm.
They can't figure out a way to get it into their mouth. And the hell is just a bunch of people in a circle with stew splashed everywhere, starving to death because they cannot figure out how to get that too long spoon into their mouth. And heaven is exactly the same. It's exactly the same scenario. A bunch of people in a circle with a spoon too long. They can get it into the pot, but once they try to get it into their mouth, they just can't do it because it's too long. But the difference is, in heaven, they're feeding each other.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, let's keep going. I do have some super chats and a super chat and a super chow, but they're a little long, and I want to get through some of this video today. So,
okay, and I have to go like in half an hour. So.
all right, we'll read the super chats and super chows at the end, and any Rumble rants. What's up, Rumble crew? Hello. If anybody hasn't already, you should subscribe to us over on Rumble. It's HB Radio on Rumble because you never know. One day we might not be on YouTube anymore. So.
Okay, and also, you guys, nobody's put anything through since Health Potion Addict, so please take the time to go to feedthebadger.com/support. Don't scare the crap out of me. Although I get scared every freaking month when this happens.
Show.
But...
Yeah, right, I know. Allison's gonna die like 10 years earlier, guys. She's gonna like kill herself. Not literally.
I'm gonna have
like,
a heart attack one day during this.
Yeah, she's gonna. Yeah.
I'm gonna worry myself to death. But please go to feedthebadger.com/support and prevent me worrying myself to death.
Yeah, there you go.
If you need it. Yeah,
okay.
Is that enough arm twisting? Do you guys need more arm twisting? I do appreciate it though. Every month being able to continue to do this work.
Yeah.
Even though it's hard work, honestly it's the one thing that makes me, the fact of the existence of Honey Badger Radio is the one thing that makes me think that we have a chance. I know that sounds really schmaltzy, but the fact that we've been able to continue to do this work and continue to talk about these things, despite how difficult it is for these things to be talked about, makes me have a sense of hope. So you guys give me a sense of hope. So please do go and support the show so that we can continue to feed each other.
Well, the existence of this video is actually proof of like the work we're doing, because now people like this feel like they need to try to come in and co-opt it, and we have to stop them. We have to stop them, guys. So in order to do that, we have to be louder, and we have to be more vocal, and we have people have to know that we've been doing this longer, and that we don't have ulterior motives, and we don't want to see more of this suffering, and we don't want people like this in charge, because they will destroy this movement.
Okay,
Right.
but and this is the thing. This is the big demarcation. Are you a woman who is approaching this in terms of how you need to be benefited as a woman? Or are you a man who's saying, well, we need to appeal to women who look at things in terms of how they are benefited? Or are you a woman who's approaching this and saying, what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
What can I sacrifice? What can I be held to take responsibility? And are you a man who's saying, this is the type of woman that I want in my life and I want to have heard? That is the big demarcation. That is the line. Which side you are on, okay? And you will get nowhere in solving the issues that we see today by continuing to indulge this notion that the only people that need to be cared about are women, and that women do not need to be held to any standard of responsibility, and instead everything should revolve around their benefit. We cannot continue with the Charles Fourier formulation of societies and communities and countries, which is they should be solely and exclusively judged by their benefit to women. I mean, it's very much our instinct to do so.
Yeah.
But if we want to move forward, we got to pull back from that instinct and also bring men into the equation. All right,
Let's keep going.
I disavow those people just as I disavow the components of the men's rights movement who feel similarly towards women. And let's address that side of their movement briefly. There are increasingly vocal groups of men in society who simply hate women. They hate the gains feminism has made. They can't compete with women on an equal plane.
they aren't
My
vocal
God.
groups of. Do you understand? Men do not hate women.
No, they
There
don't.
may be like a hermit on a fucking island in the Mediterranean who's like, I have never seen a woman. Men do not hate women. Okay, lady? They don't. What they hate is not having the ability to be attractive to women.
Well, and that means that's obviously the opposite of hating women. Yes, I include.
Yes.
Well, never mind. Well, she's gonna mention MGTOW and incels because this is how high IQ, how big brained she is.
Oh God! Would you please leave incels alone?
Yeah, I know.
They are men. They are young men who are really hurting, and yeah, they're lashing out. You know what happens when an animal is abused? It lashes out. It's the same difference.
All right. Karen, did you want to say something or?
No. Let's
Okay.
let's just move on.
Playing field, and they seek to diminish the rights of women so that they can feel better about their puny existence. These elements include groups like
Wow, their puny existence. What rights do they want to take away, lady? You gonna tell us? You gonna tell us what rights? You mean the right to vote? That's not a fucking right? That's like the most edgy thing I've ever heard, and it's not even a right.
Yeah.
incels, components of the alt-right and white nationalists, trads who want to force their social conservatism on others, the pickup artist community, and the men going their own way movement.
What? Okay, so MGTOW hate women because they don't want to be around them, but you want them to be around them. Because that's like not wanting to be around them is hating them. And that makes them dangerous to women somehow?
Yeah, and then she wants MGTOW to be around women because
then they don't hate them, I guess?
No,
she wants them to be
because-
around them but not hate them.
But she loves MGTOW. And that's why she wants to be around them. I mean, this is the thing. Like, if you've got a neighbor who's just like, no, I just want to be left alone, right? And he just minds his own business and does his own thing, and he's quiet, and he doesn't really, and whatever he does in his own house, and he doesn't have a dog that barks, and he doesn't, like, annoy you, and he's not constantly, like, complaining to you about how you don't rake your leaves or whatever. But he just would really like to just be left alone.
Yeah, when a bunch of men choose to be left alone, they're obviously forming a movement.
Well, no, but it's like, okay, so what you're saying is this man is dangerous and he hates me, therefore he needs to spend time with me and be nice to me. And it's like, no, just leave him be. Just fucking leave him be.
They can't. Why don't you like, you know how, like Alison just said, why don't you leave the incels alone? Why don't you leave the MGTOW alone? That's literally what they want. That's the big thing they're advocating for. You can't stand the idea that there are men that don't want anything to do with you. That's what's bothering you.
Yeah.
And they talk about
and
it.
Also, again, she's taking the attitude, which is the exact attitude. I got to reemphasize this over and over and over again. We're not going to get through this unless we find that nucleus of women that will take responsibility for society and men and children. Okay? It may be that this is the end because we don't find that women don't take responsibility. Women don't start looking not in terms of how society benefits them, but how they can benefit society, how they can, at the very least, provide men a sense of that what they do is important, that what they do is beneficial. Simply me telling my freaking dog, hey, you're doing great. I know this is a stressful situation, but you're not barking at the trucks. You're not barking at the kids. You're walking nicely beside me, and I appreciate that. That's what I want you to do. That women just willing to do that to men. Hey, it's great that you're still doing the work that needs to be done, the work that requires a high risk tolerance. The work that requires the kind of instincts that men bring to the table. It's wonderful that you're continuing to do this. It's wonderful that you still have some commitment to making sure the lights are still on. I really hate the fact that you won't be able to actually get a decent wife out of the job, but at the very least, you got the approval and the appreciation of one 40-year or 45-year-old woman out there. You know? Like, I'm the last ditch, you know, I'm in the breach, I'm the only one left, but I'm doing it, I'm trying, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need women willing to do that.
It doesn't take much to encourage men. You don't have to give up, like, what you own, right?
Yeah, I'm not no. And the funny thing, we just need women doing that. And that is like, I see it as the same thing as the Sabine women. We appreciate you because we love you. Not because you're killing yourself for our chastity. You know, and I appreciate men just because they're men. Like, I don't even want to look at, like, the Ukraine war because it's horrible. I see these guys dead, and I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, what a waste.
Yeah.
Just a waste. You know, and suicides, what a waste of men. I see it as it's not just like a loss of resources. It's like these are people. These are souls that no longer exist, that no longer get to contribute their particular masculine way of being into the world. And I appreciate men on that level. And that's why I'm saying, you know, it's great that you're doing these things. You know, I don't feel like men should feel like they're obligated to continue to provide for a society that spits on them. But I'm amazed that they do. Yeah. I'm astounded that they do. Yeah. I'm astounded that there are men out there who still get up in the morning and unclog people's toilets, for God's sake.
Mm-hmm.
And that we still have a society, despite all of the shit that's happening, despite how much men have been shit on for the past 70 years, that we still have a society. And that's what we need. I know it's like really arrogant for me to say, but we need more women who are willing to say that. And not in the context of, oh yeah, we're glad that you're continuing to provide us, but willing to wade in, verbally smack down the women who are constantly shitting on men and say, no, that's not right. That is not right.
Yep.
We appreciate you, and these women are wrong. This woman is wrong, and she's not coming with the kind of mentality that men deserve now. You guys deserve this from women. You deserve women who are going to stand up and smack these women down verbally in Minecraft and say, no, you're wrong. Okay? You deserve that. You deserve women to stand up for you and to call out this fucking psychological torture. This expectation that you get to beat your dog and have your dog do what you want.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and,
This is really
it has to
fucking
still
ugly.
it has to still love you too.
It has to still love you too. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, lady. Have you seen what men have to deal with psychologically from feminists lately? Like,
Yeah.
seriously. The fact that the incels are just off in their forums grumbling to each other and MGTOW are just enjoying their best life without you, that's minor. You go and clean up all of the shit. Like, I don't even have to talk about all men. Clean up the media's attitude towards Johnny Depp. Let's make this really concrete and specific. Like, we don't have to talk about the media's attitude towards all men. When the media fucking shuts up about Johnny Depp and apologizes to him for making him out to be the villain when he was the victim, then you'll have a point, lady. Not much of one, but at least you'll have something to stand on.
Yeah.
You know,
All right.
much less all men, but let's just do one man.
Yeah.
Okay? And the
All right,
demonization of one man. Okay, all right.
Yeah, let's keep going. I think this is a really good video that we can get a lot of shows out of, just saying. So, all right, let's keep going.
Some people within these groups will go so far as to say that rape should be legal. They downplay domestic violence, they harass women online, and they actually eschew loving
What are
relationships
you
and protect-
fucking talking about? Now you're outright fucking lying!
No, there was that thought experiment.
Rush
there
V's
was-
thought experiment, she took it totally
Yeah.
seriously. I think
Yeah.
it's a joke to bring that up. How long ago was that? Hasn't he
Oh.
converted to Orthodox Christianity since then? Like, why?
Yes, and-
But you see, she has to keep that in her pocket so that she can pull it out whenever and say they said this.
No, but his whole point was, if you actually made rape of women legal in someone's personal private property, their apartment or a man's apartment or house or whatever, then women would actually start thinking about their own safety.
Okay, if you made it essentially the line of consent when you enter a man's private abode, residence, then women would start to take their own protection seriously. So it's a thought experiment to reduce rape, not to increase it.
Yes.
So it's actually saying, what if this actually reduced the number of women who are raped? And it's just a thought experiment. And also, Rush seems sort of fragile in some ways. You don't notice that? Anybody else?
She doesn't know. She doesn't care, though. He's a representative of the men's movement now. Like, whatever he said ever in history, that has to be used against everybody involved. And we all have to constantly repudiate and disavow. Constantly. That's why, by the way, I just want to say this. That's why I didn't want to do that with Andrew Tate, because no matter what some other guy that has any connection to the manosphere ever says, I have to come forward and say, we don't like this guy, by the way. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we say. They will use it against us no matter what. And you know what? They're wrong for that. They are absolutely wrong for that.
Well,
so leave these men alone.
Okay, bitch. And
Andrew Tate is not.
It doesn't matter. That's what I'm saying, Karen. It doesn't matter what he is. We all have to no matter what somebody says. If it's Jordan Peterson, who's not an MRA, if it's Andrew Tate, it doesn't matter. They get used against us, and then people on our side say, we have to repudiate this person. We have to disavow this person. If we don't do it, then they're gonna not like us again. Well, they don't like us anyway. It doesn't matter what we do. It's a waste of energy.
Yeah,
he's right. This is guilt by transitive property. Andrew Tate Rush V was not part of the men's rights movement. Andrew Tate isn't part of the men's rights movement, and yet. So why do we have to repudiate these people? Why do we even have to answer for it?
Well, because we agreed with them on some things, in which case all vegans love Hitler.
Yeah.
Yep.
And anybody who likes universal state-funded healthcare also loves Hitler.
Feminists don't have to answer for
Well, yeah, because they always create the camp of radicals. Oh, those are the right. That's not me. That's those guys over there. We believe
Feminists
basically the
don't have-
same things, but I'm not pissing in the street, screaming patriarchy. I'm over here in front of a camera wearing nice clothes, and I'm basically saying patriarchy. But I'm doing it nice.
And this woman doesn't have to answer for Mary Koss.
Yeah.
Rape apologia towards male victims of rape. Like her minimizing of, and this is something that ripples throughout the entire survivor industry. What Mary Koss did to male victims of rape is unfucking believable. She made them invisible in the statistics, lady. Don't give me any fucking shit about Rush V's stupid thought experiment when we are dealing with the fallout of Mary Koss saying, oh, well, a man who's forced to have sex by a woman shouldn't be considered a rape victim. We should call that surprise sex he didn't know he really wanted.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me? That is despicable beyond despicable.
At the time that it was happening, he actually wanted it. He just didn't realize that he wanted it.
Yeah.
There is no men's rights activist that even raises to that level.
Yeah.
There's no men's rights activist who would argue that women can't be raped, period, lady. Period.
Yeah.
And now,
ever.
Mary Koss, feminist in good standing, a contributor probably to RAIN, to the CDC, all over the place. She is considered to be an authority, and not just on rape of women, of rape of men. Well, sorry, she doesn't consider that to be rape. She's the one who gets to decide whether or not a man is raped. Are you fucking kidding? There is nothing on our side of the aisle that could compare to that shit.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that is pure and utter shit that we have to deal with every fucking day when we try to advocate for male victims of sexual assault. Mary Koss and her bullshit. Her feminist bullshit.
Her super heteronormative bullshit.
Well, of course, trans women can't be raped unless they've transitioned.
Well, and you know, a woman can't rape a man because men are heterosexual. Only a man can rape a man.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yep.
Well, I mean, actually, in some countries, like I think in the UK, rape is still defined basically, like the crime of rape is still defined as something that a man does to a woman, or at least a man does. So, like that,
yes, it can only be committed by a penis.
Yeah, only a penis can rape. So, anyway, look, I'm gonna try and get through some more, but this woman is driving me up the wall. Like, I've heard this already.
Yeah, we've heard this multiple times before. Feminists do not have to answer to their high-powered, like, we have like maybe a pen laser, you know, a pen laser, and we've accidentally shined it in somebody's eyes, and she's like, "Oh my god, I gotta get the death laser and beam it." Like, you know what I mean? It's like this death laser, and she turns it on, and it flies an entire 747. You know, and that's the feminist death laser, but they have to answer for the men's rights pen laser. Mm-hmm. Really? Yeah, we'll answer for this shit, which it isn't even men's rights activism, when you answer for your goddamn death laser named Mary Koss.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Retaliation against feminism, which I think is really funny. Like, oh no, you can't date us. You can't date a misogynist. Like, take back our rights so we can have them. Like, we're good on you guys too. I joke, but these are hate groups that do not believe in equality, and they're made up of vile people. It's a shame that they've been able to co-opt the men's rights movement to an extent. But as a libertarian, I know the feeling.
Bullshit.
As a libertarian,
no, anybody who starts a sentence with "as a" needs to shut the fuck up.
No. But as a libertarian co-opter, I understand whereof I speak.
What? Oh, sorry, my doggo is getting a little feisty.
Because she basically is she's a co-opter of libertarianism.
Absolutely.
And and then so she like this confession through projection.
Yep, absolutely. absolutely. All right, let's do a little more, and then I think I'll do the super chats and super chows.
Yeah, and then I think I'm gonna go. So
okay,
I have to get going. So
all right. So anyway, she says, "I know the feeling. Our movement is no stranger to vile
people trying to co-opt it and corrupt our message."
Sorry, my doggo has many comments to make.
No, it's fine. I can't really hear it.
Yeah, I can't either.
So she says, as a libertarian, I know like that we've also had to deal with vile people that try to co-opt the movement.
Yes.
Do you libertarians that are watching, do you see what's happening here? She's basically saying, this boys club called Libertarianism is problematic, and she is the libertarian feminist that's going to try to fix it. Do you see what's happening? Do you see this? Okay.
It is important that we distinguish between some of the very real concerns men face in our society and the creepy underbelly of unsuccessful men who just hate women. Now,
no men hate women. It's not a thing. It is not a thing. Even when they say they do. Okay? Even if they say they do, they don't.
Yeah. Yeah, and why do you hate unsuccessful men?
Yeah. Yeah, why don't you marry the homeless guy in the alley behind your condo? Yeah,
no, it's like do you have zero empathy, right? Do like you feminists have spent the last 50 years or more stacking the deck of society, slanting the playing field in favor of women, and now she's like, and there's all these unsuccessful men who are like creepy, and it's like, well, yeah, you created them. You changed all of the rules and you set all of the conditions to make them unsuccessful, to deny them the opportunity to be successful, right? No matter how good they are. And now you're saying, well, unsuccessful men are creepy and gross.
Yeah, but here's the other thing. When is it just like political violence? Like, eat the rich and kill all men.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to answer for that? These incredibly public things that were said. But once again, feminism's death laser that has totally blown up an entire 747, and we have to answer to someone else's pen light.
Yep. All right, moving on.
She's using it to just delegitimize us completely. All right,
I have
one
a lot
more.
Of thank yous, by the way.
Go ahead and do those.
Okay,
we need to make our decision.
If you're doing thank yous and super chows and stuff, I'm gonna go because
that's fine.
The sooner I go, right, the sooner I can get some things done that I gotta get done.
Right.
So,
do you want to do another one, like more of this?
We could do another. That's what I'm trying to get at. We could do another 30 seconds. We could bring you on again, Karen.
Yes, you can bring me on again. It won't be tomorrow afternoon, though. It's
no. I don't want to. I have to do stuff tomorrow.
Yeah, my mother-in-law is.
It's the Sabbath. It's the day of rest. We can't do things. All right, let's just do another 30 seconds.
All right. Do another 30 seconds.
Back to the valid side of the men's rights movement. To reiterate, these are their top concerns. Custody laws.
I refuse to acknowledge you as the arbiter of anything.
No, she's telling us what's legit.
Standard. Yeah. No, you're not the arbiter of me.
How do you do, my fellow libertarians?
You may kiss my ass in Minecraft.
Others, violence against men, false accusations, over-incarceration, conscription, and mental health. There's a lot to dig into.
How about rape of men by women? This is the thing that they always avoid. They always skip over.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. And the reason they do is because it doesn't make women look good. And they can't blame it on men.
Yeah, it's hard to blame it on men. It's really hard to say to a rape victim, what were you
wearing that night?
Consent?
You were asking for it.
I was wearing a penis.
Yeah. Had it strapped to my hip. Van Gogh. All right.
Anyway, I'm gonna go because I gotta go. So.
All right, Karen. We'll try and do more. This video's a gold mine, I swear, of rage.
Well,
I don't know if you can mine rage,
definitely.
but I feel like I'm mining rage right now.
Yeah.
No, you're definitely mining my rage. Like, again, when are they going to answer? When do we get to stand in judgment of them? Actually, no, I do get to stand in judgment of you and your entire freaking ideology. And guess what? You possess a goddamn death laser, lady, as a feminist, and you have used it, and you must answer for it. And until you disavow Mary Koss and all of the women who tweeted kill all men and all of the ugly, ugly bullshit about how men would construct a society for the benefit of themselves at the expense of women, which has no scientific validity. After 70 years, it hasn't been proven. Like, this is the thing. It hasn't been proven. It hasn't even been proven to the standard of a civil court case that men would do this. There's absolutely no evidence that this is the case, and yet they keep perpetuating this lie against men. When you answer for that, then I'll give you the right not to be judged. God.
Yeah.
The sheer arrogance.
No, absolutely. By the way, guys, in case you think that she's just like in some like outer circle claiming to be a libertarian without anybody to back her up. This video was made for FEE, which is the Foundation for Economic Education, a very popular libertarian channel on YouTube and website. So this isn't a fringe thing. This is libertarians being stupid as fuck and falling for this shit. That's what it is, because they want to appear better than everybody else, so they're playing this game.
Again, the only way we're going to get out of this is by finding women, if there are enough, who are willing to hold themselves accountable and start looking in terms of what they can do for others, not what others do for them, and judging others based on how well they've done it. Okay, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. It's the only thing. And it doesn't, like, when a woman like this walks up to your door and says, hey, I represent the interests of X number of women, it doesn't fucking matter. All she's gonna do is, if there are other women like her who have the mentality that things exist to benefit her, there are no standards to hold her to, that she doesn't come to a community and look at it in terms of what can I do to help build it, help strengthen it, help protect it, help make the people more stronger and more effective. What can I do for them? If she doesn't come to a community with that attitude of service, then all she's going to bring is a whole bunch of sisters who are going to tear your community down to shreds. Like, just don't. Like, if I can do anything for men, it's this. Do not allow women like this into your life. Do not allow them into your communities. You don't have to take their rights away. Just say, no, I'm not interested. No, I don't want to be your boyfriend. No, I don't want you to be the spokesperson. No, I don't want the women that you would bring into my community, in my community. No, just say no. If she doesn't come with an attitude of service, and I don't mean that they have to be completely self-sacrificial. Of course, there's going to be something of benefit to people in libertarianism. Otherwise, why would you be part of it? But if you don't come with an expectation that you are going to give at least as much as you get, you don't come. Just leave. You're not helpful. Go wander the wastes with the rest of the harpies who are tearing everything to shit. Okay?
Yeah.
You don't belong. Go away. But be gone. That's, if I could give men one thing.
Be gone, thought.
You deserve better than this. You deserve better than women who constantly only ever see things in terms of their own benefit. Who cannot see outside of it. That's the thing. It's like a huge walled garden in their head. They can't see beyond it. They can't see that there's more to existence than being benefited. It's like you're not even a human being at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You're just a need screaming into the dark. Like me at this moment. I need to have this be over.
All right, so we're gonna end the video part there, but we're not done, so don't leave, stick around. Let's do the thank yous for the people who donated. So we'll do that first, then I'll do the super chows, and then if there are any Rumble rants, I'll do those, and then lastly we'll do the super chats. So go ahead, Allison.
All right, so Turin 88, I'll just leave it at that, gives us $100. Thank you, Turin 88.
Thank you, Torin.
Thank you very much. That's really nice. Thank you.
Math Freak 13123 HBR, I'm assuming not your legal name, gives us $25. Thank you, Math Freak.
Thank you.
Thank you. Come again.
Cam D gives us $10. Thank you, Cam D. And Great Indoors gives us $250. Thank you, the Great Indoors.
Oh, that's a big spoon.
My spoon is too big.
The spoon is... It's a day of spoons, isn't it? But you know, I usually say the word spoon, like Tick's battle cry, spoon.
Yeah, this one.
When people donate, I guess, or support, I guess it does also have that secondary meaning of, you know, even if your spoon is too large, too
just
long,
a spoonful.
you can still
if you know that meme.
No, say it again.
It was remember when Vine was popular? And there was this guy who made a lot of very funny Vine videos, and he was like, "Can I have some of that?" And the guy was like, "Just a spoonful," and it cut to him with a gigantic spoon.
Okay, and PLM gives us $25. So thank you, PLM.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you to everybody who supported us. We have gotten closer to our goal. I think we got about 15% today, so that's pretty good. Or 10%, something like that.
That's a little anxiety-inducing, considering it's the 26th. But we have like 5 days left.
Yeah, usually, like honestly, even though it scares the crap out of us, you guys usually like to wait till the very last moment.
Yeah, it's like those movies where there's like a time bomb and they're trying to defuse it. Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. But anyway, if you would like to join our very generous supporters and make sure that the show can keep going, please go to feedthebadger.com/support and throw a few shekels in the hat. No, we did pretty good. Like we got about $570, which
I mean I'm super appreciative either way.
Yes, that's very, very, very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, feedthebadger.com/support, and we will continue to do this work as long as we are able. And okay, let's hear those super chows and super chats.
All right, so super chow. Zaranx gives us $5 and says, Fundzerker 168. I really appreciate you guys putting in the show title, because sometimes we're supposed to message at the end of reading the super chows. And if we get something like after the show is over, it's hard to know like what the comment is in reference to. So appreciate that if you're doing that. That's cool. So Zaranx gives us $5 and says, Fundzerker 168. I dropped links to videos from leftists that want to save men from the manosphere or the red pill. Deeply concerning because I'm convinced they will warp everything. The moment Destiny started featuring on some of these programs, I knew it. Then seeing Michael Knowles on a whatever podcast, I saw part or most of that. Some like Knowles might mean well, but they all ultimately follow their gynocentric worldview. The manosphere basically operated on the iron sharpens iron motif, and it would be the iron pieces trying to contribute that would help us figure things out. Yes, I mean, people are welcome to talk about it, but as long as you're able to say, call them out on their excesses, whether that's essentially in most cases both sides are going to basically say that men are responsible and women should benefit. So you should call that out, and I think that people who are intellectually honest will not fight with you. So then I got another one from Zaranx for $5 that says, Fundzerker 168, apologies for the length of the last super chow. Well, that's kind of like the point of super chows, right? They're supposed to be like, we give you more characters and you can say more with it. So it's okay. Give us a wall of text And if you want to confuse us with however the hell it's worded, feel free. Okay. So, hi, I am not from the government, gives us $5 and says, and I'm here to help, which is a play on this thing that Ronald Reagan used to say, which is, you know, the one thing you should always be wary of is someone showing up saying, hi, I'm from the government and I'm here to help, because obviously they're not. Thank you for that. Hi, I am not from the government. And then we got one more super chat from Zaranx for $10. And he says, Fundzerker 168, if you want to be louder, people will have to make the rounds. Fresh and Fit will be on Patrick Bet David's show. I don't know who Patrick Bet David is, but I'll look into it. Rollo's been there. Tulsi Gabbard has been on. Tim Pool, Vivek Ramaswamy, Andrew Tate, etc. The crisscrossing has been amazing, especially considering Adam Sosnick, who's a regular on PBD's show and has his own on the channel. He had Just Pearly Things, Coach Greg Adams, and the lead attorney on. Those three and Fresh and Fit had links to the late Kevin Samuels. That's an immense amount of crossover. Thank you, Zaranx. Yeah, I always try to. I've reached out to Pearl a few times. I've had some guys from the 21 Studios on. I think I've had Bruno, George Bruno, I think his name is, a couple of times. And, but, I think that, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say what they think of us, but I don't think we're on their radar because I think that they associate with people based on clout most of the time. So unless we suddenly get massive clout and go viral, we're probably going to remain unknown. And that's, I mean, you do what you're going to do. I mean, me personally, I will say this. From the moment I started getting involved with the men's issues thing, all of what I've learned, not just about the men's movement, but about the world and history and everything in general since then, has allowed me to prepare myself for what is probably coming and move towards that so that I will do hopefully better than the people who live in whatever fantasy world the media, academics, politicians, and the entertainment industry have created for them. So, good luck living in your wonderland. But thank you, Zaranx, for that. And that's all the super chows.
When we get messages like this, what do you expect us to do?
Yeah, I think he wants us to...
send a message, you're like, we can't force these people to be interested in what we have to say. And honestly, I would take a moment and ask yourself why they aren't interested in what we have to say.
Yeah.
We've been plugging away at this for 20 years. We predicted a lot, or I have, 15 or almost 10 years now with Honey Badger Radio. We have predicted almost everything that we see now. And these individuals who create these shows are not interested in talking to us. Ask yourself, why is that? I mean, part of it is obviously we don't have clout. And, when you choose to say the things that we're saying, nobody's really interested in it. It's not an easy answer. It's not an easy answer. I mean, we would get more attention if we simply said, yeah, we're going to tell you how to attract a woman. Okay?
Yeah.
We're going to tell you guys how to get a woman. It doesn't matter what quality. But you'll at the end of the day, and that's a lot of the pickup artists and the red pills people. They promise men that they're going to make them attractive to women, whereas we come this from a very different angle, and that angle is, are these women you want?
Yeah. And what good is it going to do if you attract a woman and then she fucks you over with the system? What good does that do?
And that's not a message that men want to hear, and it's not a message that women want to hear.
Yeah. I mean, high value men are actually more vulnerable than low value men.
Yeah, look at what Johnny Depp went through. Top 1%, and he went through absolute hell. There's nothing that a man can do to protect himself from this if it should happen. And that's not what we're selling. We're not selling pussy. We're not selling an easy answer. We're not selling... Another thing that I've noticed is that fear sells, but a particular type of fear. Generally fear that, and then a blame on a group of people. And when we blame a group of people, like if we do something, we call out feminists, we get a lot more attention.
Mm-hmm.
But feminists aren't necessarily a problem. They're a symptom of a deeper problem. Okay?
Yeah.
So we're talking about behaviors. It's easier for people to get on a side and blame the other side for what's happening rather than looking at their own complicity in certain behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But the answer is never outside. It's almost always within. And they're not interested in this kind of conversation. Maybe it's too rarefied. Maybe we don't have the clout. Whatever.
Yep.
It's their decision. What are you expecting us to do? Are we supposed to force them to pay attention to us?
Well, yes,
Probably
like
not gonna happen.
no, I think that a lot of these, and look, I'm not going to call them grifters. I don't like that term. I don't think it makes sense. I don't think that's what it is. But I think it is about, like, there is a kind of elitism that goes on where it's like, well, how many subs do you have? You know, if you don't have like something in the ballpark of what I have, then you're not worth talking to. Look, I'm not playing. I'm not woe is meing at all. I think that probably in most of these cases, we just haven't like gotten their attention or their notice. And that's not anyone's fault. Maybe the YouTube algorithm, because I know that we get lots of comments saying you guys are criminally undersubbed. I remember when we met Carl Benjamin, like in 2017 in LA, he says, "Why don't you guys have 1 million subscribers?" And we're like, "We don't know," you know. But like,
and part of it is also like, you know, we are hit by the algorithm. This is something I noticed. On Twitter, as soon as Musk took over, I went from the HBR Twitter account went from losing subs to gaining subs. Okay?
Yeah.
There is a tailwind that we're fighting against, that these individuals may not be fighting against. And we are specifically called out by feminists because we're hitting them where it really hurts.
Yeah.
Like the Andrew Tates of the world are just giving them more sound bites to justify themselves. We're actually we are kicking the podium out from under them. So there's more of an incentive not to spread what we say around. Or even
acknowledge it.
Or even acknowledge it at all, including completely stamping down on it.
Yep.
But you know, I could be completely fucking wrong. This could be some weird conspiracy. I could just be engaging in writerly paranoia. It's just what I have read and what I've learned. I know that the algorithm does punish men's rights content. I know that there are feminist groups that specifically campaign to YouTube to get certain types of content removed or reduced in scope. And I know what I saw when Twitter got taken over by Musk and what happened with our subs and our reach.
Yep.
So this is just some circumstantial evidence. You can analyze it as you will. But the truth is that the real political line right now is not right or left. It's not really libertarian, conservative, or any of this other stuff. It's between who are those people who are willing to say that women have to take responsibility and those who aren't. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the real political line. All right.
Zeranx gives us $5 and says, Tim Pool has floated the idea of left libertarians more than once. Why wouldn't these socialists infiltrate? Right? I mean, well, anyway, I'm not going to go into it, except there's no such thing as a left libertarian, but sure, go ahead and say whatever you want.
You know, I'll get more into this.
Okay.
I'm really tired of clout chasing, to be honest. Like, there was a time where I made an effort to try to court these people and try to bring them on and try to get on their shows. And I just got sick of it. Like, I say what I say. People who are who stumble on it, listen. I do what I can. And if it's not enough, it's not enough. At least I'm doing something that will actually make a difference.
Well,
I'm going to be really blunt.
I think it is. I mean, even if we're not like getting.
You're not making a difference. You're not making a difference unless you are addressing the essential problem, which is that people will not hold women accountable. And it's not a situation where it's impossible or it never happens or that, like, I don't know, evolutionarily we just can't hold women accountable, because it has happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there have been points in time where women have stood up and took responsibility for their part in society and their part in creating strife. And there's been wonderful things that have come out of those moments. So it's not impossible. But if you're not actually advocating for that, then you're not advocating for much at all. You're just advocating for more of the chaos that's destroying everything. Women will either step up or they won't. And if they don't, that's it.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you for the super chat, Xeranx. Then Sammy B gives us £10, which is probably $1 million compared to our money, and says, thank you for caring. Thank you, Sammy B. And then Albatross gives us $2 and says, I like it when y'all get heated. And then he puts a little flame emoji and a like rock and roll devil horns fist. Thank you, Albatross.
I think we're going to be getting heated over this one. We're like, about 4 minutes in, and we've already.
Oh, I'm livid about this video, but other things too.
Honestly,
yeah.
I don't want to watch these videos. Like, I applaud you. You watch this without me and Karen. I wouldn't fucking do it.
No, I know. Somebody's got to
I would not watch.
Somebody's got to get the gist.
As much as me and Karen disagree on some stuff, which I don't think we disagree on a hell of a lot, but I don't want to watch a video like this without her.
No. It's like I said before. This is the real dangerous feminist, not the ones that free bleed in the streets and like strip off all their clothes and paint like, you know, crazy shit on their chest. Like, not those. You know, they're crazy. They're certainly not like okay. But these are the ones I'm really worried about. So,
yeah.
It's like the difference between Doomsday and Lex Luthor, you know? So, Doomsday's just wilding in the streets, just like making chaos, very dangerous. But Lex Luthor is the one that you can't put in jail. So,
yeah, and what I mean is that I don't want this stuff going out into the world without being challenged.
Yes.
Can you imagine because I think about this. I don't even want to watch this by myself without you guys. But there are people out there, there are men and some women, I guess, who watch this and they have to endure it without their padres, like without their posse to just tear the shit out of it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
That's what I want. That's why I want our voice to be out there. So that
that's why I like to read your comments, because like I want to know that I'm not alone and going crazy, you know, or with just us here on this channel. Like I know that most people just couldn't even bear to hear it, because it would just imagine what it does to someone's worldview. I mean, that's why there is red pill rage, right? But I'm sorry, but if it's the truth, you can't hide from it. You can't run from it. You may as well confront it. You know? And even if we're wrong on some things, okay, then you got to help us. Like, that's the thing. We have to help each other. You know, it's just like Zerang said, iron sharpens iron.
Okay, well, let's look at it this way. We're in like a 1940s diesel sub, right? And we have twisted and flipped every lever and switch on the goddamn dashboard except for one. And nothing has helped. Nothing has worked. Nothing has made things better. What do you want to bet that hitting the button we're avoiding, making women take responsibility, the one thing we have avoided and that we have this instinct to avoid, might be the one thing to save us all.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Let's. I got another super chow from Xeranx. Thank you, Xeranx. Let me just check Rumble really quick. Rumble Squad, what's up? Okay. And look, guys, maybe because we're not getting a lot of traction on YouTube, it might also be a good idea to follow us on Rumble, because one day that might be the only place, or we're going to end up on Locals or something. So, Xerox gives us $5 and says, fundraiser 160, or Fundzerker, sorry, 168. I'm not trying to apply blame. Please believe me. I'm mentioning it because I hate seeing you guys getting overlooked. Brad Wilcox was just basically dragging Rollo today on Twitter. What you offer is hard and difficult. You're probably more along the lines of Rollo, but he gets recognition where I think your voice could help as well, since you have the same information he does. Apologies for any feet stepping I may have done. No. You don't have to apologize for that. Plus, I think that we actually have more to offer than Rollo does.
Rollo is one of the people who actually banned me.
Yeah.
Because I pointed out that his approach is still appealing to women.
It is.
It's still appealing to being desirable to women. And
it's also used to flex on other men. Because when Rollo brags about, like, you know, how much pussy he's gotten, which I find is probably exaggerated, all he's doing is saying, like, more women like me, therefore I'm better than you. So that's not.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not how that's not how a man's worth should be measured. So.
One thing. Women need to take responsibility. We need to challenge this kind of toxic competition between men.
Yes. Agreed.
These are the two things. And these are the things that nobody wants to hear.
Well,
nobody wants to hear fucking stop eating ho-hos and get your ass on a treadmill.
Yeah. Well, you know, what I've noticed about, and I'm not going to call it, well, I guess I'll call it the manosphere, but I'm talking about, like, the kind of, like, red pill male whatever it is community. It's not MRAs, but they know about men's rights issues. One thing I notice is they're always like, they get together, they form a cooperative group, and then there's drama. Somebody betrays somebody, something, it turns into pro wrestling, you know, it turns into a soap opera. And most of it has to do with these guys that are constantly competing for, like, alpha, most women bedded status, and that is tearing, it always breaks them up. That has to stop. Guys, you're better than this, aren't you? So that's the thing that I keep seeing. I personally, no concern over that. I'm like, can we just deal with the divorce problem? Can we just deal with the alimony problem? Can we just deal with the child custody problem? I don't care how much ass you've gotten. It really doesn't have that much value these days. You know, a lot of these women are really easy. Let's not do that. Anyway, so yeah, like what Alison said, I'm just agreeing with you in a long roundabout way.
Yeah, it's you know, I'm much more interested in seeing men help each other make really good choices in female companionship.
Exactly.
Than just compete over female companionship. But anyway, that's just me. And like I said, this is the don't eat ding dongs and sit on the couch advice. And then nobody wants to hear it. Everybody wants if you just do this one crazy trick before bedtime and you will lose 500 pounds.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they want.
Just lift, bro.
Or it's Monsanto that's made you super fat.
All right, I got another super chow.
Oh, really?
An anonymous person for $10. I don't know who that is, but thank you. And they say, please note that people like Tom Woods has repeatedly done shows about some of the stupid stuff that goes on within mainly the bigger libertarian groups, Libertarian Party in particular, kind of similar to Atheism Plus and the people who criticize them. Well, yeah, I know. I know that's been going on for a few years now. That's why there was a Mises caucus, I think. Not to get too entrenched in the political stuff, but it is because they were infiltrated, and primarily by feminists. And I'm telling you, there is no such thing as a libertarian feminist. It does not exist. So if a woman comes and she says, I'm a feminist and I'm a libertarian, you need to tell her to get to stepping, because that's not real. Yeah. That's not a real thing. And also, you need to say, well, what are you going to do for us? You know, not what do you want us to do for you?
Yeah, that's just the litmus test. You don't even have to care. Okay, I'm a libertarian feminist. Oh, that's very nice, dear. What are you going to do for the community?
Yeah.
Because these ridiculous oh, if you listen to me, I'll bring all the women. Well,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm going to eliminate the sexism in this community. That's
yeah,
what I'm
that's
gonna do.
actually that's what this might be part of the line in the sand. We don't do the if you listen to us, you know, you'll get the women, right?
Yeah.
Almost everybody else does, really. Or you'll protect the women. You'll either get the women or you'll protect the women. No,
Yep.
we don't do that. And that's like, there's a reason why most people do that, because it sells. Everybody wants to either get the women or protect the women, including
Yep.
women. All right, so
So that's everything. Do you have any more thank yous? Any
yep.
last minute things?
let me just double check. Again, if you want to join our very generous supporters to make sure that this content keeps coming, like I can't promise you, I'm never going to say, okay, well, this is what you need to do to get women, like a lot of the red pill will. I will say, do you want that? Really? And do you really want someone in your life who's going to treat you with contempt or your identity with contempt? And to women, this is what I'll say. Do you really want a life in which nothing you do matters?
Yeah.
Because that's the life promised to you by feminist theory or feminist conjecture. Nothing you do matters. All that matters is what's done to you. I can't imagine a more horrific existence than that. You know, and if that doesn't appeal to you, hey, maybe listen to us. Because we challenge that, and we do that through logic and reason. All right, so if you want to support the show, do so at feedthebadger.com/support. Thank you to everyone who has throughout this show. And I will hand it back to Brian.
All right. So if you guys like this video, we're going to leave this up, right?
Yeah, this is gonna.
Yeah, we'll leave this one up.
There's no, except for her stuff. There's no real copyright.
No.
stuff. And
It's not
Sweden
like
North
copyrighted music. Like I know when we do
Honestly,
the Beat Saber
we get
thing.
slammed for music. We
Yeah.
get slammed for the music. That's really what we get slammed for. Not
Yeah,
even the
it's
video.
the music, but this doesn't have that, and we were careful about the copyright. So we're gonna leave this one up. So if you see this later, thank you for joining us. Yeah, see if you can donate, like Alison said, feedthebadger.com/support. Okay, if you guys like this video, please smash like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on today's show, and if you want to watch the whole video that we were responding to, the link is in the description. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of the Fundzerker, and we will talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.